Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Frame Advantage Level 4A2's fighting game podcast for the week of January 23rd through January 29th. I am your host, V, the White Mage, and I am joined here by the young man with the reactions, Doza.
Hey, what up?
And Master Steph, Saken, and Arcadia are all out this week because they're going to Frosty Faustings and PAX South, getting on the tournament life and the exclusive look at all indie developers and whatnot over there. But we have a special guest this week. We have 4A2's very own Van. Because this guy literally changes his tag to every event that he goes to. It's hard to look up any matchup footage of him whatsoever.
Right. Very annoying.
Yeah, I was curious to what you were gonna say. I'm like, which tag is he gonna give Van?
I was wondering too.
I'm just gonna call him Van.
I might just go with Van for a while.
And we have one person in the audience this time. We have, as RNG Noisy Child would say, Rachel Alice Macaulay. Emphasis on Alice for whatever reason. I don't understand. But yeah, welcome guys. I'm going to introduce like a new segment to the show a little bit. We're going to do a little bit more intro questions. So I want to know from you guys, what was y'all's first fighting game? It could be either casual or competitive.
First fighting, you mean first fighting game we took seriously?
Yeah, I'd say either like casual or competitive. I'm just gonna say like first fighting game you ever played. Let's go with that.
First fighting game I ever played.
I guess I'll start with it. Mine was actually Guilty Gear X.
Really?
On the PlayStation 2.
You were a Guilty Gear player?
Well, I played it casually. I played it when I was 12.
Okay, I'm curious. Who did you pick?
I picked Dizzy, actually.
Disappointing.
The waifu started early.
But then, as I played a little bit more and experimented with a little bit more of the cast, I actually became a Testament player.
Okay.
Because I thought it was really cool. He had the big scythe going on. He had the ghost popping out from behind people.
Testament.
And I thought that was cool. I was like, hey, he's kind of like a trap character, so I'm gonna go with that. And I played with my best friend at the time, almost daily after school, because we lived close to each other.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess for me, my history with fighting games has been pretty sporadic. I mean, I've played them all throughout my life, I guess, but just never seriously. I'm struggling to think of which was my very first that I played. I mean, because when I was a kid, I just ran through arcades and I'll just jump on this. So maybe it was Mortal Kombat, or Killer Instinct, or Primal Rage. Those were all in arcades back whenever I went to the arcades a lot to play games. Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I started taking them a little bit more seriously whenever I played with my cousin, who was actually, I didn't know at the time, was actually a serious fighting game competitor on the Louisiana scene, I guess 10, 15 years ago. And with him, I played some Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Tekken as well, but that's about it. I didn't really get seriously into fighting games until Marvel vs. Capcom 3. When that came out. That was the first time I decided to take it seriously.
It's pretty recent, actually.
Yeah, no, I only started very recently.
I don't think any of us really started taking things super seriously until later down our lives, except for maybe you, Glenn.
I'm an 011er.
Yeah, I wasn't too far behind you. I started really getting into Melee seriously in 06, so. And I only played that until Marvel 3 came out.
It's kind of a 5-year jump on me.
Right. I think I started casually, honestly. The last game I can actually remember me owning was Tatsunoko vs. Capcom.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't know what bad netcode was at the time, so I just kept playing, and I'm like, man, this is so much fun. And then, eventually one Christmas I got an Xbox, and I remember one of my best friends at the time talking to me about this game with 2D characters with 3D backgrounds, and I'm like, what? How? And, it's called Blaze Blue. And I'm like, oh, that's a weird name. And then, I look at it in the store, I'm like, that's not Blaze Blue, that's Blaz Blue. So, I snatch it up. I go play online and I get bodied, every game. And I'm like, man, how do you play this game? And then, the research started from there.
And the rest is history.
Yep.
Blast.
Still haven't switched mains.
You didn't actually start coming out to play with us until a couple years ago.
2 years ago.
So
Exactly.
Has
you're
it been
still
2 years already?
Yeah, you're still relatively new to our fighting game scene.
Yep.
All right,
Still wet behind the ears.
good stuff, guys.
2
All right.
years.
So moving on to the topics section. We've all been playing Street Fighter V Season 2 for a while now. The game's been out for a while, and there's been a lot of mixed reviews from many players alike.
I like the game.
Including top players.
That's fair.
Players by the name of right off the top of my head are Infiltration and Christopher Gonzalez. So
NY Chris G.
now sponsored by EG.
Yeah. EG Chris G.
So I guess we'll start with the Infiltration interview. He states that he does not like Season 2 very much. He thinks that the changes made by Capcom for the season are a bit too drastic, especially when it came to the changes to certain characters with the buffs and nerfs. He goes on to name nerfs and stuff to the weaker characters now that they totally destroyed Nash,
Rip
quote
Nash.
unquote.
Dead character, even more dead than before.
They nerfed Alex, and they really nerfed Fong, who was already a weak character to begin with. And he believes that because of all these changes, going top tier might be the best course of action for most players. So, what do you guys think about that?
Well, I think that going top tier is always a wise choice. If you have the chance to play top tier with a character that you enjoy playing, then you should always utilize that opportunity. I think that maybe he brought it up in more of a light that you should pick top tier if you are now having a character crisis, right? Much like the position that he's in, I feel, with his main Nash being nerfed to a point in which he doesn't feel he wants to play Nash anymore, he might just pick a top tier. And that's okay, so if you are determined to be competitive in the game and you want to win, then picking a top tier is a wise choice, especially if you don't have anywhere to go character-wise at this point in time. I know a lot of players were left feeling like they were in a character crisis upon Season 2 coming around. The exceptions being, of course, Yuri and Cammy and Balrog players feel very validated in their Season 1 choices. So
Also the Guile players.
And Laura.
Yeah, Laura.
I
I think everyone agrees on that being top 5 for now.
they're pretty good. Not gonna lie. I would also agree that Capcom made some very interesting choices in as far as nerfing characters like Alex and Fong, who are already low, or at least considered low. I mean, maybe they knew something that we didn't. The game had only been out for, I think, 9 months before this huge patch dropped, right? Because it came out in March last year, I think, thereabouts, right? So,
yeah.
So we didn't actually get a long time with the game. Now, tech for fighting games comes out really fast now because of the internet and being able to share information. So I'd say that we were probably able to discover a lot about the game, but there might have been something that we didn't know about these characters. And also, you could say that because systematically, almost every character's poke buttons got nerfed, the strong elements of both Alex and Nash were their pokes. Alex and Nash both had really good long-range pokes that were annoying to deal with, and because they got systematically nerfed along with everybody else's pokes, they don't shine as bright. Not that, I mean, they didn't have a bunch of tools, I guess, to work with before anyhow, but I guess having their main poke tools being nerfed, whereas some characters like Balrog and Cammy remained untouched. So and
or they became better.
Yeah, or in the example of Urian, got better buttons, right? So, in light of that, it's not hard to see why those characters rose to the top, right? Because they simply just were not nerfed along with everybody else. Now, you could potentially make an argument that if Fang buttons and Alex buttons didn't get nerfed, that they would pose a potential problem. And maybe that's something that Capcom was trying to present. However, I guess most of the Fang and Alex players don't feel like they were compensated for that loss. So, as a result, Fang and Alex both, I mean, not that they had far to fall,
Right.
plummeted to the bottom of the tier lists almost universally. So there's that. So I guess if you're a Alex or Fang player and you have some sort of character crisis and you don't know who to play, just pick a top tier. That's the way it goes.
I mean, that's a pretty viable argument for that. The Sanford Kelly method.
Yeah,
Just pick a top tier.
just pick a top tier. Ideally, in every game that you play, you would find a top tier character that gels well with your playstyle. That's where you should look first. Find a
Right.
tier list, start at the top, play through those characters. If you find something that fits well, play that character. There's no reason to struggle for no reason, right? Like, it's just it's ridiculous.
I would say it depends on the game. From what I've seen in Street Fighter V, especially in Season 2, is that, like, even with, like, the nerf characters, like, pretty much you can win with just about every character in the game.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I'd say that overall, Street Fighter V is a pretty well balanced game. I mean, except for, I guess, the top 5 shining really brightly above everybody else. Right. It still feels like everybody has a chance to win. You know, there aren't joke characters in it like Dan or Sean and stuff like that. Like, they tried really hard to make the tiers very narrow, and even from professional players, from pro players, everyone will say that anybody can win. People don't even go so far as to say low tier whenever they come up with tier lists. They just say, like, mid tier, you know. So it's a very narrow tier list. Like, an Alex or Fang player can still win. They just struggle a little bit more than they used to.
Yeah. Well,
and this comes from an unfortunately dedicated Alex main. I just like Alex a lot. I don't know. I mean, I'm probably gonna play around with some of the top tier characters and just see if anything suits me, and then I'll pick up a sub or whatever. But I think Alex is really interesting, so I'll probably stick it out with him for now.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, there's always still hope for the new characters coming out too.
That is true. I am excited about the new characters. A lot of people are upset that they're all new. They're all brand new characters, but
because everyone wants their old character from 4 to come back. So
this seems really silly to me. Like, I guess I kind of understand the nostalgia, but, like, your character could come back like Vega and be completely different, right? So
that's what happened with me and Jury. Like, she is completely different
exactly,
and not
right?
as good as what she was in 4.
So no matter how much you want it, you might not even get the same character that you were gonna play in Street Fighter 4. So if it's a character with a completely new play style, then it could just be a completely new character on a different palette, right? Like, like, your character coming back doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get your Street Fighter 4 character. So that's a weird mentality for me. I mean, some people were saying that from a monetary standpoint, it would have made more sense for Capcom to have, like, 3 returning characters and 3 new characters and kind of split it down the middle. But but Akuma is a returning character, right? So, like, so that's 1, and then we get 5 new characters. If you look at all of the DLC so far, we've actually received 7 returning characters from DLC, and we're only going to be getting 5 new characters. So overall, we've received more returning characters than we have
new characters
anyway. So I don't mind. I think that this is totally fine. I mean, I imagine that Season 3 will have a spread of returning characters and new characters also.
That was another thing that Infiltration was talking about in his Core A Gaming interview, is that he tried out Akuma, and he does not believe that Akuma is very strong, and he probably won't be using him in this version of the game.
That's fair. It's very interesting. I watched an interview with Infiltration in Street Fighter 4 where he talked about Akuma. And in Street Fighter 4, when Akuma came out, and when people played Akuma, I guess in vanilla, everybody thought that he was very weak then too. But Infiltration was able to, I guess, sniff out the character's latent potential, and he mained that character and did very well. So I think it's interesting coming from an Akuma main from Street Fighter 4 who thought that the character was underrated. You know, so like now in Street Fighter 5 the character first came out and everybody thinks that he's not good, right? But Infiltration also doesn't think that he's good. So I don't know if that's like a huge indication that the character is actually not good or not, but it's so weird because a character that has so many tools like Akuma does typically has a very high ceiling in as far as what tech they might be able to uncover, right? So I think that it's too early to say. Most tier lists put Akuma as being like high mid, right? Like, so he's not. Some people think he's the strongest Shoto at this point in time. Some people think he's not, right? Like it's like Ken, Akuma, Ryu, right? Ryu being the weakest at this point in time. So nobody puts him as being bad. They just don't think that he's overly strong right now, and until somebody, I guess, comes out with the tech or finds the latent potential that the character has, that might continue to be true. I don't know what Capcom, what their design choices were for the character. Perhaps they wanted to make sure he wasn't super like overpowered and like Oki driven like he was in Street Fighter 4, Vortex driven like he was in Street Fighter 4. So maybe that's why. Maybe the only reason why he's weak is because of the universal nerf to DPs. I mean, you know, if Akuma had normal invincible DPs, he would potentially be a much better character, right? It's just the fact that he is a very low health character and has fewer defensive options because of the fact that they nerfed both meterless DPs and V reversals kind of across the board. Like his V reversal is pretty bad from what I hear. Like I've almost never seen anybody use it, and
I don't even know what it looks like.
like it's hard for Akuma players to use V reversal because he has a 3-bar V trigger, and he's so low health that if he uses a V reversal, he's not going to get V trigger until he's pretty much at the end of his life.
Yeah.
And like Akuma players, like Akuma's gameplay centers so heavily around his V trigger that it's almost never worth it to V reversal. You pretty much want to get V trigger as soon as possible, because once Akuma's in V trigger, he can vortex you to death, right? Like it just.
Yeah. Does he also have invincibility on his DPs in V trigger?
Yeah. So
okay. Yeah.
He actually can't EX DP in V trigger. The only thing he can spend meter on in V trigger is on his Tatsu, I think, and then maybe like air fireball.
Gotcha.
Maybe, but like
Demon flip as well.
Yeah, demon flip as well. Like the things that aren't V trigger enabled. Right, so like he can't actually spend meter in V trigger, but it's kind of crazy, you know. Like so once he's in V trigger, everything combos into his DP, which leads to an Oki setup, right? So it's just like, hey, I get the hit, I get a mix up. On the second hit, you're probably stunned, right? And then you're dead, depending on how much health your character has. So like Akuma has crazy like comeback potential and crazy burst damage potential. Which all comes out of his V trigger, which is why you don't see Akuma V reversal very much.
Right. But the problem is he's so low health that he like dies in 3 touches.
Yeah, and the fact that he doesn't get meterless reversals without V trigger or like he has to spend meter
or EX, yeah.
Yeah. But he does have teleport, which is fully attack invincible. So that's something.
And that's at least something, but someone could easily just follow the teleport.
Yeah, and it's not going to save him from throws. So like if you you meaty throw him, then he gets thrown. So that's he has some weaknesses in the defense department that doesn't quite make up for his health. But man, does he have like crazy comeback potential? Y'all watch that video where I guess what's his name has been maining Akuma recently.
Tokido?
Sako? Might have been Sako.
No. Snake Eyes.
Oh yeah.
Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes has been maining Akuma
Interesting.
recently.
I figured he would go back to Geef now.
I think he will ultimately play Geef, but he'd been playing Akuma online for a while, and he had this crazy comeback versus PR Rog's Balrog Like Pierrog basically got his Akuma down to pixel health, and then he V-triggered and just vortex Balrog to death.
Jeez.
Yeah.
All right, I need to watch this. This sounds pretty exciting.
It's a exciting clip. So yeah, I definitely think the character has potential. It's just like people have to find it, but for now he feels weak.
Yeah, I imagine you just have to be a very good player on the defense in order to like make Akuma really shine, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just his he gets outshined easily by the top 5 because the top 5 all have amazing pokes, whereas he doesn't really.
Yeah.
Like he's got some long range buttons, but they're slow and they're really easy to whiff punish. So like it just is tough. But he's got fireballs and stuff to make fun. I don't know. Like he's got stuff, you know. Like, obviously he has a lot of tools and he's got a lot of interesting things about him. But yeah, so he gets outshined by those dry characters that can just like stand medium kick him to death from far away and all that stuff. So that's kind of the main thing there.
Well, we'll see where the character goes. If not infiltration, then some other person might be able to do something with them.
I hope so. I mean, like the character seems really cool and interesting. I think that there's going to be. I mean, is Tokido going to main Akuma? I think he talked about not, right? Like he tried it out and was like, I'm just gonna play Urien instead.
I imagine he probably won't play Akuma.
Yeah, Tokido.
Especially if he's talking about playing Urien. I mean, like, if you're playing Urien, then why would you play
I don't think you have to
Akuma?
play anyone else if you're playing Yuri.
Tokido seems pretty much on the I'm trying to win as much as possible
Yeah.
kind of thing.
It's like a lot of the top players right now.
Yeah.
But despite his harsh words about Season 2, Infiltration says he's doing it out of love for the series, for Capcom, because, I mean, like, despite the fact that, like, whether you're, like, super big into Street Fighter or not, like, we all want this game to be successful. I mean, like, Street Fighter is, like, the staple, like, fighting game. It's like, I can't imagine anybody wanting this game to fail. So...
Right.
And he's gonna keep trying Season 2 because he's Infiltration.
Yeah. I personally like the game a lot. I mean, if you don't like Street Fighter, then you're not gonna like Street Fighter 5. That's just kind of what it is.
I'm also not really big into Street Fighter 5 right now, but I also want the game to like be better and be successful. So I'm still holding out for good stuff, maybe from the characters that will be released this year. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
maybe Season 3 will be better. Who knows?
Like, I don't know. Going back to what Infiltration said about how Capcom made some really drastic changes from Season 1 to Season 2. Definitely interesting design choices. I think there was that they posted a Combo Fiend article or something where like on Capcom Unity where they explained why they were making these changes and stuff. So they universally weakened jab anti-airs. And they took away meterless DPs.
I'm sad that Combo Fiend didn't do a character-by-character analysis like he did with Ultra Street Fighter 4. Peter Combo Fiend Rosas here.
I think that
we noticed that Yun had a little trouble getting in.
So he made his EX dash punch +1 again. Thanks, Peter.
But continue.
I think that the changes were too drastic. I mean, we got like a thick 92-page document that detailed all of the changes.
Jeez, that's way too long. That's why I went to the freaking I referenced the online version of that instead of just having to download the big PDF.
Yeah, it's like a 92-page PDF. I mean, if you want like a character-by-character run-through, James Chen actually did one. Like, when they released the patch notes, James Chen went through all of the notes on his stream and went through all of the changes and then broke it up into videos on YouTube. So you can actually watch James Chen talk about your character and the changes that they made for him.
Yeah.
I watched the one that he made for Alex, and it was pretty funny because he was, incredulous the whole time. He was just like, well, I don't know why they changed that, but alright. It's cool. But yeah, so some of the changes were pretty drastic. I I don't know. I mean, there are different design philosophies, I guess. I prefer smaller changes over time, so that it doesn't feel like you have to do all of this adjustment at once. The reason for that is because I think it's more comfortable for players. You know, you make little changes over time. Some people don't like that, and honestly, I guess since Capcom is trying to make Street Fighter V a very serious tournament season game, they're trying to do very, very minimal patching during the season, right? So that nobody has to adjust gameplay mid-season and then do all their patching at the end.
Right.
That's okay. You know, like, so if that's what they want to do, that's fine. But I think that if you're going to make giant changes to the game and you're going to do these big patches, then during your off season, right? So right now we're in the off season, basically between Capcom Cup and Final Round, which they announced is the first Capcom Pro Tour event that they're having, right? So that's a solid 3.5 months, right? During this time, do a PTR, like do playtesting, right? That way you can get feedback from your community about the kinds of changes you're going to make, because you're making these big changes, and you know, like, there might be something that you didn't foresee, and then now you don't have any time to change it, right? Like people have been talking about how it could be that Capcom is going to release a patch right before Capcom Pro Tour starts, right? I think that would be silly. You know, like, people are going to spend these 3 months playing the game, and then they're going to change it right before the Pro Tour starts. So, like, people are going to have to adapt all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would say, you know, if you have 4 months off of tournament season, take 2 months to do PTR, make your changes, and then have players get a month and a half at least, or 2 months of adjusting to the new changes before the Pro Tour starts.
Right.
Right.
So are you a fan of more of, like, just kind of like having a kind of biannual patch thing instead of just like an annual patch, or do you want to go the NRS route when it comes to patches, or what? What do you think would be the proper way to go with updates to Street Fighter V?
Well, I'm thinking about it now. You know, like, so if it was, you know, so the way the NRS does it, they release a bunch of little mini patches frequently. That can be a turnoff for a lot of players. Basically, what that does is that eradicates your mid-level player base, right? Casual players aren't going to care,
right?
Because they're casual, they're just playing the game for fun, so they're probably not even going to pay attention to the changes. Hardcore players aren't going to care because they're following along with it the whole time,
right?
But your mid-level players, the ones that are don't have as much time to invest in the game. You know, maybe it's like your secondary game, or, you know, they just don't have a bunch of time to invest in the game. It's going to bother them the most, because it's going to be dazzling for them to try to keep up with all of the changes whenever they're hardly paying attention in the first place, right? So you kind of lose out on a lot of mid-level players whenever you do that. I know that personally it was hard for me to keep up with. You know, I wanted to play MKX, and I wanted to be relatively competitive. I didn't expect to, like, win a bunch of MKX tournaments or anything, but I was learning it, and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun, you know, I want to stick with it a little bit. And the number of patches was daunting. I mean, like, sometimes I would stop playing the game for, you know, like, maybe a couple of weeks or a month, and then I'd come back and I'd find that my character was completely different. I'd have to figure out whatever else was going on. And I know that was a detriment to a handful of other players who were kind of in the same boat as me, trying to get into the NRS games and just being too daunted by the frequent patching. I also think that frequent patching is not good for tournament seasons. Capcom Pro Tour is a particularly long tournament season. It's like 9 months.
Yeah.
Right? It starts in March with Final Round and runs all the way through to December when Capcom Cup is. So that's a long time of not patching the game. I respect the way that they're doing it. Like, I also think that if you're gonna run a professional circuit, unless something game breaking happens, right? So, like, they need to fix some bugs, some glitches, maybe something systematic that needs to change that won't affect the overall play of the game, then those are the little patches and stuff that you can do mid-tournament season, because you don't really want to interrupt anybody's play. And the best time to do those would be on release with DLC that comes out. Because you have to remember that with the DLC characters coming out, that also dramatically affects the tournament scene, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're releasing 5 characters during the Pro Tour, essentially, that may or may not completely shake up the meta, which is kind of cool, right? That's kind of cool and interesting, you know. But you probably wouldn't want it to be much more than that. Right. I don't know. My dog's barking at me.
Yeah, we got a dog bark. That's fine.
Also in the crowd. All right. And so, like, I think that's really cool, but I think it's important to keep the integrity of the characters that people are playing, right? So new characters, like jumping in and jumping into the pool and making a big splash, that's way different than Nash getting super nerfed mid-season, and then all these Nash players are suddenly like, well, I don't know if I should keep playing Nash or if I should change. I have to completely readjust my playstyle and stuff like that. Like, that's super different, okay? So, I think that keeping character changes down to a minimum, like just changing necessary stuff, and that's about it, maybe bugs or whatever that needs to be fixed, that's fine. Honestly, I'm okay with the way that they're doing things now. I just really wish that they would do PTR. I mean, like, maybe they are doing playtesting, and there's just like a secret playtest group that nobody knows about, and like nobody's talking about or something, but like, fighting game developers, I feel like we're the last to kind of jump on the public beta train, right? Like computer games and other forms of gaming has done it for a long time. You know, like first-person shooters especially, MMOs somewhat. So I think that it's time to just kind of embrace it, you know? Like, people are taking fighting games as seriously as ever. Professional players know the game really well, in and out, right? Like, they're very smart. They're the people that you're trying to cater to in a competitive setting.
Right.
So take feedback from them, right? Like, these people would happily play your game and tell you what they think needs to be different about it, for free, right? Like, it's free labor. You don't even have to pay them, right? Like, so
you don't even have to pay them.
That people will just do this, right? Like freaking Overwatch has a PTR like every 3 months for a new patch that's coming out, right? Like, they're doing it now. So like, a new patch just released that had PTR for. I mean, so. Because Overwatch has more frequent patches, they PTR for a short amount of time. They do like a few weeks, you know, a few weeks to a month with different regional testing and stuff like that, and they do play testing for a short period of time. This one could be longer because it's such a big patch. You can have play testing for a month and a half, and then release the patch, and then people will probably be happier with your product. And plus, you would get feedback from all around the world, from places that have completely different opinions on the direction that the game should take, completely different opinions on who's the best characters in the game. You will get such a large quantity of data from which you can make choices and to help your system design and your vision, that I think that it's a shame that they're kind of wasting that resource and not taking advantage of that, right? Because can you imagine the difference between, like, Japanese feedback, Korean feedback, European feedback, Canadian feedback, American feedback? I mean, like, tier lists look pretty different across the world. At least for Season 1, they did. Everybody knows who the top characters are, but where are all these secret hidden characters? You know, like the secret top tiers, the characters that are not actually bottom tier because some country figured out what to do with them. You know,
right.
Like that sort of thing. So. So they're just not taking advantage of that, and I think that they should. And who knows? Maybe a patch will come out in February before final round.
I don't think that would be the best thing to do, but
I mean, maybe not. I don't know.
We shall see, because like player feedback right now is not very good right now.
I mean, but that's the thing, is that they're getting feedback.
Yeah,
right?
They are getting feedback.
They're getting feedback. They could have just gotten feedback
in a better way.
in a better way.
Yeah.
So right now you just have a bunch of people whining about the game and not giving a bunch of constructive feedback.
Criticism, yeah.
Okay, they're not giving a bunch of
Constructive criticism. Because they weren't told to, right? They just think that this is the way the game is going to be, and they're sad about it, right? So they're just gonna complain.
Which is actually perfect for, like, the next top player I want to talk about, Chris G. Posted a really funny rant during one of his streams. Talks about, he talks about how the top 5 characters right now are all busted.
Yeah.
That, Akuma looks like Mufasa. Yeah, they chopped off Nash's legs. Doza, how do you feel about that? You've been pretty quiet.
The biggest thing for me in Chris G's rant was that he basically said that every character does the same thing and that the game has no personality. And I think that speaks volumes to me about how I feel about SF5.
I think it's the same for me too.
I feel like in, other fighting games, even SF4, you had different things that added personality to your playstyle or your character, or how you played the character. Maybe things like, FADC, certain tools that you had in the game to add flavor to your playstyle, right? I don't feel that's too possible with SF5. The system for me just feels very limited. I come from a game where I can run up to you and DP on your wake up and be safe if I have 50 meters. I feel it adds, not every Ragnar player does that. Different players do different things, and I feel like in SF5, everyone's just kind of doing what works.
Pretty much, yeah.
Maybe the system, I'm not too experienced on the system of SF5, but maybe the system only allows you to do what works, and what it works best, and there's no reason to do anything else.
The system is very, or at least I find it to be very, very heavily offensive based. Mm-hmm. So, like, a lot of characters tend to either, like, get a knockdown or get a quarter carry, and then they proceed to just mix you up, and they make the opponent guess on the defense. And defensive options aren't very strong, especially in Season 2, because of the DP nerf and V reversals being nerfed. Mm-hmm. So, you just have to just block and hope for the best if you're on the defense, because offense is the way to go for every character in the game. Unless you're Guile, I guess.
I mean, it's a very intentional design choice.
Yes.
If you think about the difference between Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5, right? Like, when Street Fighter 4 was in development, it came out in 2009, right? So that means that Street Fighter 4 was in development in, like, the mid-2000s. That was before streaming was a thing. That was before, like, everyone was sharing videos and doing a bunch of stuff on the internet. Like, they did not design Street Fighter 4 with esports in mind, right? So, like, they have a completely new design goal with Street Fighter 5. They want it to be esports. And, people who are just watching, who don't know how to play the game, they're not going to necessarily be entertained by high-level Street Fighter 4 play, right? Like, it's cool for us. Like, we get it, and I think that watching high-level Street Fighter 4 is really interesting, right? And I like that, but it wouldn't necessarily be appealing to an esports audience, somebody who doesn't know anything about fighting games. So Street Fighter 5, they took a very intentional tack, I feel like, in making it offensive, very offensive-based. People get stunned faster, people take more damage overall, so the games go quicker, right? Like, there's an incentive right now, there's a push for all tournaments to run their Street Fighter 5 brackets 3 out of 5, like Marvel, right? Because damage is so high, and you can get through a 3 out of 5 set in Street Fighter 5 pretty quickly, and that's the appeal, right? It's a little more streamlined, I guess, in some cases, to make it easier for beginning players, right? The inputs are more lenient, right? There's a 3-frame buffer window, so 1-frame links no longer exist, which was something that was obnoxiously difficult about Street Fighter 4. If you played a high execution character, quote unquote, you just had a character whose combos had a bunch of 1-frame links in it, and that was really annoying. Right? So that was and that didn't necessarily need to be there. In regarding flavor, of the game. I mean, remember that, when Ultra Street Fighter 4 came out, they had 50 plus characters, right? Maybe even in the 60s. Anyways, there was a bunch of different characters. Whereas whenever vanilla Street Fighter 4 came out, they had a similar number. I think they had 16. Whenever
somewhere around that. I think it was in like the lower 20s after you unlocked everybody. Because having to unlock characters was still a thing.
I'm pretty sure vanilla had less than 20.
Yeah.
Like
I remember having to unlock a lot of characters.
I think it was 4, to be honest.
Like I remember having to unlock like Seth, Akuma, Rose, some other peeps. I don't know. But anyway, I guess that's not really the point. The roster in general was smaller.
Yeah. So like the roster is really small, and as such, you might not necessarily feel like there's ways for you to express your specific style of gameplay. The game is still very young. Like I said, like it hasn't even actually been a full year yet. It's not even a year old, right? So I know that everybody has high expectations for Capcom's flagship game, and in essence, the flagship game of the entire fighting game community, right? Like Street Fighter V is the most recognizable title in traditional fighters. Not counting Super Smash Brothers, of course.
So that's not traditional, though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, like, in traditional fighters, Street Fighter is the most recognizable title. Worldwide. Perhaps in America, it might be Mortal Kombat. Don't quote me on that. But there's a lot of high expectations there, and most people feel like those expectations have not been met, especially by the standards of which we expected, I guess an arcade mode and a couple of other features that the game still feels like it's missing,
right?
Even 9 months after its release. I think I watched an interview where they interviewed Ultra David, and Ultra David said that Street Fighter V was the worst fighting game released in modern history.
I would probably agree with that.
Yeah.
That game did not launch very well at all.
I mean, like, his basic statement was that Capcom did a good job of appealing to competitive gamers, in that Capcom is a well-designed competitive game. The tiers are relatively close. There's a feeling that you can win with everybody, even though there are top tiers in the game. And everything about those competitive elements are taken care of, but they didn't take care of casual gamers. There was no arcade mode, there was no story mode for a very long time. And there's other things lacking about it that a lot of modern fighting games have. I mean, Player 2 can't do anything to affect rematches or character select, right? So we still have to do the dumb thumbs up thing if Player 2 is ready or not. There's just a lot of features missing, but we did get an incredibly comprehensive training mode.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's easily the best training mode I've seen in a fighting game yet.
Yeah. Like,
it's really good.
Besides just showing hitboxes, it's pretty much the best. Like, I can do anything that I want.
It's like most players have to mod their game to make a really good training mode. Like, I would say, like, the only training mode in a game that I've experienced that beats out Street Fighter V is Project M's. But that's about it. And that's a modded game, so...
Yeah. So Street Fighter V came with a great training mode and came with great competitive playability. So in that aspect, it's fine. But in an overall game aspect, it was a very poor release. It was missing a lot of elements that they had to fill in later on. It's still missing elements that they still plan to fill in later on. So that's kind of a major thing. So everybody has these high expectations of Street Fighter V and of Capcom to release a good game, flagship game of the FGC. And I think that they're doing their best. Like, I also have high expectations, but I also understand that there's a lot of strain and pressure from the team to do well, and I expect, just like with Street Fighter 4, for the game to fill out over time. You know, we're getting 5 new characters. Who knows what they're going to play like, right? They're going to be completely new. They'll probably share some similarities with characters we've seen in the past, but overall it's going to be completely new characters. And I think it'll add a lot of flavor to the game. And also, remember in vanilla Street Fighter 4, you only had one Ultra, right? And then later on in another version of the game, you got to pick between 2 different Ultras, and that gave you more flavor with the character that you were playing before. So they could do something like that easily, right? Like maybe they'll
variations.
Yeah, kind of in a way. That way it felt a little bit more personal, right? So even though I'm playing Alex and another player's playing Alex, we could pick options that would make them feel different. And a lot of games are kind of moving in that design. I mean, Injustice 2 has gear. We don't know how that's going to play out just yet, but that's going to affect the character that you play at a base level. That could differ from other characters. You had gems in Street Fighter Cross Tekken, right? You got variations in Mortal Kombat X, and we're gonna have Infinity gems in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, right? So games I feel like are kind of moving in that direction where there's gonna be variable things. So who knows? Maybe in the future, Capcom will make it so that you have 2 different kinds of V-trigger things that you can go into, or maybe they'll add something else you can do with your V-meter. That's what I kind of want to see the most, honestly, is maybe like another V-skill, right? Like maybe have characters, because there are certain characters right now who have multiple uses of their V-skills. Birdie is one of them, right? Like he basically has 3 different V-skills that he can do. He can build V-meter, he can roll a can, he can throw down a banana. Like, they could easily add options like that to other characters.
Yeah.
Right? Like Laura can dash forward, dash back, or do an overhead wheel kick. Things like that. So I think like characters that have very limited use V skills, or like just kind of one thing, like Karen per se, right? Like her V skill does one thing, but she can charge it. But like, let's say if you did like a directional input, she did something else, right? And that would add a lot of variability and uniqueness to the character without having to change it too much, right? So they could do something like that. They could add a universal system in the game that has you spend V-meter in an offensive way, right? Right now, the only ways to spend V-meter is pretty defensive or as a confirm. Right, is usually how you spend V-meter, because you can use it as a V-reversal, or you can go into V-trigger, which often people just use as either an off. I guess some characters use it offensively, like Rashid, but for the most part, it's kind of like a hit confirm or something to do something safe, right? So what if there was some way in the future where you can spend a V-meter to just like do a cancel, right? I think we had talked about that before. Like, what if you could spend V-meter, like 1 V-meter bar to basically do like a Roman cancel, or
like an FADC or something.
Yeah, or like an FADC. That'd be kind of cool, right?
Call it a V-advance.
Yeah, V-advance.
Yo, that would be so cool.
Yeah, right. Like it.
That even sounds cool.
V-advance. Right? Like, it lets you dash cancel any normal or special move by spending a V-meter, right? And that would be interesting, So there's a lot of things that they can do with the game still. And I'm looking forward to that, essentially. Like, I think that it'll fill out and it'll reach the same prestige that Street Fighter 4 players felt when they're at the pinnacle of Street Fighter 4.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, hopefully that time will come.
Yeah.
And who knows? Like, we still have a whole another season ahead of us, so we'll see where it goes.
Who knows what's going to change? I guess very quickly, let's talk about tier lists before we move into another topic. So, I guess the top 4 that I've seen in literally every tier list is Cammy, Urien, Guile, and Laura.
Yep.
And most top 5s include Balrog.
Yep, that character is dumb.
But like pretty much universally, so I'm looking at 4 different tier lists right now, I think. I am looking at Ultra David's tier list, Alien's tier list, Filipino Champ, and an early like LPN tier list. And they all include the top 4, Guile, Urien, Cammy, and Laura. as being top 4. Let's see. Filipino champ puts Nakali in top 5.
Yeah, Nakali is another good character.
Yeah. Aliun just has the top 4, and then everyone else is kind of an A+. So Rashid, Boxer, Zangief, Karen, Nakali, and Ken are all A+. So right under the top 4. Let's see. Ultra David also just has the top 4, and then 4 in A+, which is Rashid, Nakali, Balrog, and Ken. So most of the tier lists that I've seen has the top 4, the elite 4, right? And then a smattering of characters, and then everybody can't decide who's mid tier.
Honorable mention Balrog.
Right, yeah. Honorable mention Balrog, Nakali. Everybody can't decide who's mid tier. Universally, everybody usually has Alex and Fang at the bottom of their tier list. And then people have been putting Nash down there. Claw. Vega's still pretty low on the tier list. Dalsim is usually down there as well. Let's see where Filipino champ puts Dalsim.
I believe you said it was mid tier.
Filipino champ puts him mid low tier.
A slight improvement
from bottom tier. Yeah. He's come up a little way. So yeah, champ has a section for mid/low tier characters, and it's Armika, Ryu, Dalsim, Akuma, Juri, Nash, Alex, and Fang are what he considers to be mid-low tier.
Gotcha.
I wanted to know where he rated his own character. So
like I said before, I think F-Champ does do his tier list based around how well Dalsim does against them, but if he also has a consistent top 4 to 5 characters as everybody else does, then that speaks volumes. So
long story short, folks, if you don't know who to play in Street Fighter V, play either Cammy, Urian, Guile, or Laura, because they are in the top 4 of everybody's tier list.
Or if you want to go an even easier route, you could play Balrog.
That's right. Balrog usually makes the top 5. Definitely up there himself.
Yep. Street Fighter V Season 2. It's gonna be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I'm excited.
See how it all unfolds.
And young Glenn over here is snapping out of his Nash phase.
Yeah, it's time to make the switch.
I don't even know why you played Nash, man. It's just not you.
It's definitely not a me.
it's not you, man.
It definitely eliminated some of my bad habits as a player.
That's good.
Not having a reversal was definitely hard to get used to.
Hey, you had a good V reversal. You had a good V trigger though.
Yeah, true that. I mean, honestly, for a while I used V trigger like it was a DP.
Yeah.
Hey, you're playing Cammy now, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Solid choice.
Yep.
Probably the best character in the game.
I agree.
Honestly, I usually suggest everybody play Street Fighter V for a little while because it does teach you very fundamental fighting game stuff.
Yep, that it
right?
does.
Like footsies, like whiff punishing, like counter poking, all that important stuff that exists in the higher grade games, the higher tier games, in my opinion, like anime games and all that stuff. It's all there. It's just it's to a lesser degree, but it's still very important. So going back to your roots and taking up what I call a Street Fighter pilgrimage, I think is very important. I didn't like Street Fighter 4 at all. It was just really slow to me. I was a Marvel player at the time, so
Marvel player.
I was a Marvel player at the time.
Not respecting fundamentals or anything.
Didn't like Street Fighter 4, but I will say that the short period of time in which I spent learning Street Fighter 4 and deciding I didn't like it made me much better at Marvel as a result. So it wasn't for nothing.
That's good. Although speaking of fundamentals in anime and stuff, let's move on to our next topic.
Yeah.
Which is the presentation for Evolution 2017 actually happened a couple of days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
they announced the Evo lineup.
They announced the lineup. Mike Ross and Mr. Wizard, they always have that presentation. They have their special guests. I think they had L.I. Joe and Bear and Markman this time around. Whereas the year before they had Ken. So, but yeah, the lineup for 2017 is Street Fighter V,
Of course.
Super Smash Brothers for Wii U,
Mm-hmm.
Super Smash Brothers Melee,
Yep. Classic.
the new iteration of Guilty Gear, Rev 2,
Mm-hmm.
Injustice 2.
Yeah, that was surprising to me.
Really?
I mean,
I
like,
thought it was gonna be a cinch for it to get in. It's the new NRS game, so
I mean, I'm glad that they're adding it, but like, I just feel like the game isn't going to be out for very long. Same thing for Tekken 7. I mean, like, Tekken 7's not coming out till June.
I mean they did the same thing for Guilty Gear Xrd, right? If I recall correctly.
Did they?
It's like I think Guilty Gear, or at least it was either Xrd or Revelator that like came out on consoles like a month, like or like a couple of weeks or something like that before the EVO that it was in.
I seem to remember that Guilty Gear is out for a little, but
I want to say it was Revelator.
It might have been Revelator, but that makes sense because Revelator didn't have any balance changes.
Yeah.
It was only system changes, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that wasn't a big deal. Like Injustice 2 and Tekken 7 are both brand new games.
Yeah.
Right. I don't even know what the release date on Injustice 2 is.
It is May 17th, I believe.
May 17th. So Injustice 2 players will have 2 months thereabouts to play Injustice, and
Yeah, they can handle it.
and Tekken 7 players are going to have a month
Yep.
to play Tekken 7 before.
Well, not the Japanese players.
That's true, yeah. Japanese players are probably just going to come and destroy everybody in Tekken 7.
If whoever ventured out to Japan to play on Tekken 7 to get the experience. But yeah, it's
That's right.
Tekken 7 and Blaze Blue, Central Fiction.
Yeah.
A very, very surprising
Yes.
pick to like everyone, especially in our anime community, because we thought that game was gonna die.
Oh, we lived. I don't know how, but we lived.
It was very surprising.
So you could tell Glenn and I are very excited right now.
Oh man, I am happier than you know. You don't even know because I had been really upset. If anyone in the LAFGC that had talked to me the past like 2 months will tell you that I thought Blaze Blue was on its way out, and it was really upsetting for me because Blaze Blue was my first fighting game I took seriously.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's like
so-
me being relatively new to Blaze Blue. I was like, man, like I don't really understand what all the big hubbub about this game is. Like the story is like super anime and like the characters are cool and whatnot, but like I don't see like how anybody could get like super hype about this game. And then I played with you guys and I was like, oh man, these guys are all about the Blaze Blue. They are super hype about this game. And then I ended up getting super hype about this game because of those guys. And I was like, man,
It's ridiculous.
Blaze Blue's legit.
You know, I've been playing Blaze Blue for like I think half my life now. I'm 19. I've been playing the game for 9 years.
Dang. When did
almost
Calamity
half my
Trigger
life.
come out?
2000 and something. I usually have the date on deck, but not today. I'm a little bit absent-minded. But, yeah, for it to be on its way out without even, me getting a shot to play on the world stage, it was kind of like, man, that sucks.
There you go.
I mean, it's only on its way out, like, here.
Yeah,
like,
true.
it's really popular in Japan.
Yeah.
There you go. Not only is it going to be at EVO, but it's also going to get a Sunday final spot.
Right.
And it was going to be picked over Guilty Gear,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Confirmed by Mr. Wizard. He wasn't even
But
going to
then-
allow Guilty Gear to come back until...
But then Guilty Gear Rev 2 showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But,
that's also very surprising. I think it's got the third spot for Sunday's finals,
Yeah.
if I recall correctly.
Which probably means
Right
like,
after Tekken 7?
after Evo, Blaze Blue's probably, on its way out. But I feel a lot better.
Hey yo, as long as we get that one
Yeah.
opportunity on the main stage one more time,
I get my chance.
to
Blaze
show the
Blue's really
world that
hard.
this game is awesome.
Right.
Blaze Blue's really hard.
It is super hard.
Actually, I talked to...
Blaze Blue is hard. I'm still struggling to learn it.
I had a long discussion with Hung about it, and like what makes the game so difficult to get into.
Super crazy amount of mechanics. There's a bunch of characters now. There's so many different things you have to learn about said characters.
So here's an interesting thought, right? So Street Fighter V is considered an easy game to get into, and
I believe Blaze Blue is the hardest game.
and
to get
Blaze Blue
into,
isn't.
which I don't even understand how like Sunday finals are going to be like commentated all that well, because I can't see any casual player really understanding what's going to be happening in the matches.
I mean, yeah.
Right.
Well, really, I think BlazBlue players are going to be watching BlazBlue. That's really what's going to be.
You're right.
But so an interesting thing for me is that, like, okay, so Street Fighter V is considered an easy game to get into, and I think it's mostly due to the fact that defensively there's not much you can do.
Right.
Right? Like, once you understand, block, throw tech, and, like, some of your defensive OSs, that's all the decision-making you have to do on defense.
But for BlazBlue, you got regular blocking, you got barrier blocking, you got insta blocking, you got counter assaults.
Mm-hmm.
You also have DPs.
Yeah, it's really...
You have other reversal options.
It's really the fact that a skilled defense is really heavily required to be good at BlazBlue.
Yes.
And to be skilled in defense in any fighting game, you have to be very, very innately in tune with the matchups that you're playing with. In Street Fighter V, I can play against any character, and like even if I don't know much about that character, I can basically understand what I need to do to defend myself, more or less, right? But in BlazBlue, because you need to be so strong defensively, you pretty much have to know matchups. You have to know, like, this character's block strings and when I can get out of it. Like, instant blocking is more important in BlazBlue than it is in Guilty Gear, right? Because, like, faultless defense is really, really good as a defensive option, whereas, like, in BlazBlue, like, if I don't insta block, I'm not getting out of some of these strings. Like, I'm just gonna have to keep eating these mix-ups over and over again. And that's what I think, in a nutshell, what makes it hard to get into is that defense is so hard in BlazBlue, and in any game in which defense is really difficult and like it is very skill dependent, really is the main thing, is that when defense is really skill dependent, that means that you have to know the matchups to win. To be able to win.
But that's most games anyway these days. So
I don't necessarily think so.
I don't think it's too true to Street Fighter.
It's not true with Street Fighter, but most games that are out now, like, you have to like know like matchup specific stuff. Like, especially if you're gonna play a game like Mortal Kombat where you have different variations of stuff.
You always want to know matchup specific stuff, but it's not as crucial. Which, like, basically at a top level, it's all the same, right? But for me to get into Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, I don't need to know as much as if I wanted to get into BlazBlue, right? Like, pretty much every time I try to play BlazBlue, and I play against a different character, it's like I'm learning how to play the game all over again.
That's
right.
fair.
Whereas, like,
sometimes I feel like that too.
Right. Whereas, like, in Mortal Kombat or in Street Fighter, if I play a different character, there's got to be a bunch of similarities. And then I just have to pick out the differences, whereas like whereas in BlazBlue the similarities are an exception, right? Like most of the characters are so different, and your defense has to be so specialized that it makes it harder to get into. I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from playing BlazBlue, of course. I mean, it's a fun game, and at a top level, it really is all the same. At the top level, you want to know all of the matchups in and out so that you're not surprised by anything. It just makes it a little bit harder to get into because it's just scary every time I play against a character I've never played against before. It's like, all right, what do I have to do now? Oh, this character disappears.
It's definitely one of those like niche games that that some people can jump in and enjoy, some people can't. But I think it mostly appeals to anime nerds. I'm not ashamed to admit that I am an anime nerd. That's fine. I mostly jumped into BlazBlue for the story and the characters that are in it. Well, one in particular, but the rest are still really, really cool too. And like, I love the art style of it. Like, it's a really pretty game.
Oh, the game is gorgeous.
I love the art style that they went with it.
I also really like the way that Guilty Gear looks. I think Guilty Gear is also a gorgeous game. Like, Arxis did a great job animating those games.
I also really like Guilty Gear. I just can't really get into the game because I don't really like the way anyone in the game really plays. I guess no one really appeals to my playstyle. I guess, except for I tried Raven out for a little bit, and Raven was cool. But then BlazBlue came out, so I just played more BlazBlue.
If you're gonna play Raven, just play Millia Rage.
Yeah, you might.
I heard they were changing her up a lot for Rev 2. Actually,
you can have your waifu and still mix people up to death.
But I can definitely see where Hung is coming from as a Guilty Gear player. As far as knowing matchups for BlazBlue, matchups aren't as prevalent in Guilty Gear as they are in BlazBlue, because once you knock someone down, they have
Everybody's
to take,
the same.
Everyone's the same.
Everybody's the same when they're on the ground.
Maybe the combo you do is different
Right.
because of height sizes or weight sizes and all that. But once you knock someone down in Guilty Gear, it's the same thing.
Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah, now that you say it like that, yeah, I guess a lot of games these days do a good job of like making it simple to just pick up the game and play without knowing too much about matchups.
Yeah, I mean,
they all just go down to the same thing like at some point during a match. I think Smash Wii U does a really good job of that too.
Right.
Yeah. Like, again, at the highest level, you're going to have to know the matchups.
Yeah.
But, like, it's easier to get into when you don't have to worry about the matchups as much to get into the game.
So it's gonna be interesting how that's going to be commentated and stuff for Sunday's finals because it's very matchup specific.
He also said that he thought the throws in BlazBlue were stupid.
I mean, some throws are really dumb. I'm not gonna lie.
There's a larger tech window. Or?
No, it's the fact like it suffers from the Marvel syndrome where like, oh, you got thrown, now you're dead. Right? Like. But it's different. It's actually kind of hard to throw people in Marvel because push block exists, so it's like really easy to create distance, and you got to be right in someone's face to throw. But it was like basically he felt like the risk reward was too skewed. Like some of the best combo starters in that game comes from throws because it doesn't scale very much.
Well, at least you still have access to overdrive and burst. Well, like Marvel, you don't have anything. You just get thrown.
Yeah, I was just like, so he thought it was silly that like, oh, I wasn't paying attention. I got thrown. I just took 30 to 40% damage, and I'm in an Oki situation, or I have to like hold another mix up, like off of a throw.
Yeah.
Which makes throws really strong in that game, and the throw reject miss makes it harder to tech throws.
Yeah. TRMs, man.
Right. Like you have to tech the throw after you are being thrown.
Also, some characters' grab boxes are stupid.
I guess
9.
Yeah. I guess I can see that. Throws aren't really as prevalent in Guilty Gear.
Yeah, and even if you do get the throw, like you either get Oki or you get like a little bit of damage, but
unless you're
it's scaled really.
bad guy.
Well, I mean, command throws are different. Soul bad guy is stupid. So, best command throw character, best grappler in the game.
He's not even a grappler.
What was that? Who showed that clip where that Raven player got totally bodied by did you was it you? No.
Yeah.
Was it you? Like Raven, he did the super and he like missed or something, and like
and he got command.
Out of the starburst, you suddenly just like see Raven being like what?
It's
oh my god,
it's dumb.
Soul's pretty dumb.
But
yeah, a nice 8 main games we got. Recap again, we got Street Fighter V, Smash Wii U, Smash Melee, Guilty Gear, Xrd Rev 2, Injustice 2, Tekken 7, and BlazBlue Central Fiction. But we're not done yet.
That's right, we get an extra game.
We have a 9th game slot open right now, and it's a throwback to the donation war of 2013. Then we got 9 games for the donation war this time around for that 9th game slot and a slot in the Sunday's finals as well.
Yes, it's going to be the first game.
Yep.
On Sunday.
And the 9 games that we have listed for the player's choice this time around are Mortal Kombat XL, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Skullgirls, Pokken Tournament, Killer Instinct, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
That'd be fun. I guess I'd watch that.
Windjammers.
I would watch that as well.
Windjammers is actually hype. I love that game. Like that game is super
that
fun.
was my first fighting game. Probably, if we're counting that.
Nidhogg.
Yeah.
I know that's like a personal favorite of mine and Doza's.
I hadn't heard about Nidhogg until we went to final round last year, and you and Chris were playing it.
Nidhogg is really fun.
Did
you play it?
I actually never played it then, but then like I went to my boss's like Halloween party, and he had it. I was like, all right, that's cool. I heard about this and I played it. It's legit, man.
That game is super fun.
It's really fun.
It's getting a sequel.
Yeah, that's true. It is getting a sequel. I'm actually really hyped about that.
ARMS.
And the last game is ARMS, the new game that's coming out for spring on Nintendo Switch.
Nintendo Switch.
I'm so disappointed.
If ARMS makes it, they should not allow you to play any other way than through the boxing sensor
Oh,
method.
Through the motion controls.
It has to be through the motion controls.
Yo, we need player cams for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've seen that stage though. Like, I mean, come on. Like you they have plenty of room. They set up a little virtual boxing thing. Like it'd be amazing.
I am so disappointed in
Yes,
the fighting community that this even came this close.
All donations are going towards the Make-A-Wish Foundation this time around.
Yeah.
And
So
right now, from what it looks like, well, before I go into that, we only have 2 weeks this time to actually raise donations. I don't know how long we had last time, but
yeah.
right now, for the current standings, we have Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 in first place with 205 donations for $9,446.
Woo.
Right now, as of January 26th at 7:04 p.m. And in second place, we have Pokken Tournament with 120 donors with $7,415. So Marvel ahead right now with a hefty $2,000 lead.
That's good.
So right now the leaderboards or whatever this is, it's only been active for 2 days. The donation drive has only been active for 2 days, but a lot of Marvel top Marvel players are coming out of the woodwork to start a lot of these donation drives to make sure that Marvel is going to get in. And honestly, I really hope they succeed.
I mean,
It's like Yipes is like in there, Filipino champ is in there. Like I think Yipes is gonna like try and get Justin Wong and some other peeps to like go over to the FGT live house to stream first to 50s and first to 100s.
Yeah.
Which that's a long set.
Whatever, man. I played first 100s with AJ like on a daily.
So if the Marvel players like keep going at the rate they're going right now, I think Marvel will win.
100 games in Marvel does not take that long. I mean, I guess it could end up being 200 games if it goes,
I don't know,
if it goes
man.
99-99.
Like a whole like first to 100, I think that would like take at least 5 hours.
No way.
I think so.
No way.
Cause like
if it goes 99-99, then maybe.
I remember like the games that we used to play. Like I've seen like sets like at like Little Wars like first to 30s, and those like go for like
Right.
2.5 hours. So I guess it really does depend on how back and forth it goes. But
Right.
yeah, but I think the Marvel community is going to pull a Melee community and come out really, really strong for this donation drive. And
Yeah,
I'm willing to help
yeah.
too. Like, as much as I dislike Marvel as a fighting game, like, I can't imagine an EVO without Marvel there. Especially seeing as how, like, it would be the proper send-off for Marvel vs. For the opening of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite later in the year.
Yes.
One final tournament for Marvel 3, I think that would be the perfect setting for it.
It'd be super weird if we got an MVCI reveal at EVO, only to have no Marvel.
Yeah, I
at
know,
EVO.
right? That would be really,
So-
really lame.
I'm hoping Marvel pulls through as well. You know, I'm not a Marvel player, but you know, I've always enjoyed watching it. I've always enjoyed playing it casually.
Yeah, it's a really fun game to watch.
You know, learning my one Wester combo, randomly calling assist and teleporting around the screen was always fun. You know, I think it's a great game. And I hope that it does get the EVO spot. If not, Nidhogg, you know, I'm down to run it at EVO. Anybody who wants to run it with me, I'm down. I'm serious. Just
Yo,
send me a
I'm in
DM
there
at
with
the
you, bro.
Doza on Twitter.
My second vote would be Windjammers.
As much as I would really like Windjammers as well, I'm still gonna pull for Marvel.
Oh no, I mean like
Nidhogg is
like-
at $35 right now.
Well,
Marvel would be my top. But if Marvel couldn't make it, rather than KI or MKX, I'd rather watch Windjammers.
Yeah.
Windjammers
KI
is basically just like fancy Pong.
but arms though.
No, please no.
I don't actually want to see the game. Like, I would want to see people live boxing, but like, I don't actually want to see arms at EVO.
I do not. I would be very
Arms.
disappointed.
Especially since like nobody knows what the game is going to
game's
even
not
be
out.
like.
It's been out in, like, 3 gameplay
the
videos.
console itself isn't even out yet.
Dive, kid.
People are ridiculous.
But yes.
I really, I'm really sad, honestly, that KI is on its way out, but it doesn't seem too likely. at the moment of them getting the Evo spot.
I mean, from what I've been hearing, like a whole bunch of like peeps in our community talking about like how weird season 3 is right now. Like, I could definitely see it not being at Evo.
Do you like KI?
All right. I haven't played KI for too long. I played KI for the end of season 2. When Shadow Jago got released, I started the game. I made my own in the game. Won a couple of tournaments. I actually won our first regional at Slam for KI. I think I did really well in the game. Definitely wasn't too shabby.
Mm-hmm.
But the changes to the game in general and the characters that were added didn't sit too well with me. Like, we got I think 3 or 4 large characters in one season.
Okay.
We got Arbiter, we got General Ram, we got Gargos, and we got... Aganos came out in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
But, the whole gigantic character thing, 4 of them out of the entire cast just didn't sit well. That wasn't something I enjoyed too much. The game was also very matchup heavy, just like an anime game, but the risk-reward across the board for the game is very skewed. Certain characters are way too strong for Season 3. Certain characters are way too weak for Season 3. And it just isn't a very well-balanced game. If you ask me if I like KI, I would tell you I used to.
Gotcha.
Not anymore.
I think a lot of people are in that boat.
Yeah, I guess no one's really all that hopeful for KI to return to Evo.
It kind of died at a local level.
Doesn't seem like that many people are very hyped for Mortal Kombat either. So, I mean, not even Sonic Fox. Sonic Fox would rather you donate your money to Skullgirls. So,
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad that KOF 14 made it.
yeah, KOF 14.
I don't know how many more Evos it will make.
Did I say KOF 14?
You did.
Oh, you did, yeah.
Okay.
I actually keep forgetting that game's going to be
It's easy to forget about.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with KOF 14 at first, but I kind of dropped off of it, especially when BlazBlue came around.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy KOF 14 made it, but I really hope that sometime down the line they make more changes to the game. But who knows if that will happen? Right now, I think the game progresses a little too slowly for my taste, especially from a viewer point of view.
I agree.
It's a lot of people are posting resident sleepers in chats all the time for KOF because matches take too long.
I agree. The game is definitely progressing towards lane play.
Yeah, it's very, very defensive, especially if you play characters like Benimaru and Mai, who do a really good job of controlling space. King is starting to come up on the rise as well.
I would say Benimaru is on the only exception at the moment.
Yeah,
for the top tiers, I think he's the only aggressive character.
He's one of those characters that can be played interchangeably.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
Some of our players are really diving into it, though. So that's good.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that we would kind of all unite under the same banner in some capacity. I think that's, not that it's a bad thing necessarily, but I do think that is one thing that GOL does do better than us, is that they all play the same game.
Yeah, I will agree with that.
We were talking about how we basically have 42 Academy right now, and it's we got Robbie and AJ and Dan
and Ryan.
Ryan Leday, and Ian is an up and coming player too, and all that stuff, and it's just it kind of sucks because I think one of the reasons why it's hard to get new players into fighting games is because they tend to trickle in, right? So it's you're there by yourself and you suck and everybody else doesn't, and you have nobody to kind of compete with on your level, right? And so it makes it really hard for new players to really get into fighting games sometimes, because it can be very overwhelming to try to overcome all of the people who have had years of experience playing fighting games.
Yeah.
I know for me personally, it was made a lot easier by the fact that I started fighting games with my best friend, and so we always stayed about at the same level, and we competed and encouraged each other to get better. So we have a rare opportunity here in that we have a handful of new players that are trying to get better at the games and stuff, but they all play different games. So it's almost like the same effect as them all coming in by themselves. Jake is in the same,
he plays Guilty Gear, right?
Yeah.
There's no one who's really at a low in our state at a low level or mid level in Guilty Gear. Well, I say mid level, but
That's what I mean. So it just feels like it's like we have these new players who could benefit from playing against each other because they're about at each other's skill. Steven's the same way. You know, like they could benefit from playing each other because they're at a similar skill level, but we all play different games. So it's still like they're isolated. Still, you know, like the games that they are trying to play, it's just them trying to learn, and everybody else is already super amazing, and hard to get into. So that does suck a little bit, I guess. We are very greatly divided. I guess there's enough of us so that we can at least make tournaments. You know, we 8-man brackets for KOF and anime sometimes.
yeah.
And,
Sorry, Doza.
Well, hey, grow up some, okay?
2 years. 2 years.
And yeah, but it would be nice if we could just like all decide to play one game for just a moment and really try to level each other up in that aspect. But yeah, just another thing that we were chatting about. And,
Yeah, we just gotta keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
As long as people play, that's the important thing.
yeah.
But yeah, anyone else making plans to go to this year's Evo?
Definitely.
Same. I've already registered. You can register now on their Smash GG.
yeah, there's Smash GG now instead of Challenge. I don't know. Like,
I will not go unless Marvel makes. If Marvel makes, then I will consider it. But it is a lot of money, and
I'd say there's probably like a 70% chance that Marvel will make.
yeah, but there's no reason.
Unless someone drops like a big like 5-figure donation for arms or something like that as a troll.
I expect to see like crazy last minute donations going on. So I'm not gonna like. It's cool that we have the lead right now, but a lot can change in like a week and a half. So.
Hey, Melee was able to pull out that Spirit Bomb over Skullgirls a couple years back, so
That's true. So I
think it's possible.
So I'm not gonna. I mean, but there's no reason for me to register or anything until I know for sure.
That's fair.
But I don't know. I would love to go to Evo because I've never been. It's just a pretty expensive trip.
Yeah, it's
You know?
Vegas at the mall.
Well, it's expensive because lodging is expensive. We can't drive there, so we gotta fly.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's expensive. Like it's not a cheap trip. I don't know. Maybe I can like drive there and like cut up my journey in 2 legs. Like drive to Dallas and stay with my relatives, and then drive the rest of. I don't know. But
Yeah, I would not do that, sir.
yeah, it's probably better to fly. But that's so expensive.
I need to start looking for cheap plane tickets.
As do I. We can always fly Spirit.
Fly Spirit.
Nah, I'm good, fam.
My family has flown Spirit on multiple occasions, and nobody is dead. So it's worked out so far. But yeah, that's how I feel about Eva right now. Definitely going to final round though. I'm going to
Yeah.
I'm going to register today. Actually,
I actually need to do that too. I've actually forgotten about that.
I
Final
also-
round. Definitely want to go to Combo Breaker as well.
That's a far one.
If I don't end up going to Evo, I'll go to CEO.
Yeah, CEO as well.
If I do go to Evo, I probably won't go to CEO because they're like so close to each other.
I want to go to all the majors this year. I might not go to any anime conventions just because I'm going to majors instead.
I mean, I want to go to majors too, but you know, I'm like limited by funds. I'm not just like Mr. Moneybags over here. It's like,
Right.
oh, I'm gonna go to CEO, and then a week later go to Evo. I'm like, okay, cool. All right, it's like let's go to Disney
mean,
World,
I mean,
and then let's go to Las Vegas.
I mean, we could find a way to make CEO cheap.
I hope so. That'd be nice.
We
Right.
managed to do it before, so
that was
even if we had to pack like 12 people in one room.
Ooh.
the cheapest year. The cheapest time I'd ever gotten to CEO was when Megabus had that special. So I had a round trip ticket for $2.
Yeah.
And I won like a random monthly godlike round robin in Marvel.
So you got your entry paid
and
for.
so I got my entry paid for. I got my entry and my hotel
Yeah, that
paid
too.
for by MGL. Shout outs to Rick Soto.
Leader of the gods of Louisiana.
I don't know, like, what happened. Oh, because Vu and Omar were ahead of me, but like Vu was just like, I'll just do my own arrangements, and Omar was out of the country.
Yeah.
So it fell to me. I was like, oh, perfect. So I wasn't even planning on going to CEO that year.
RNG was in your favor.
For the first time in my life, yeah. I wasn't even planning on going to CEO that year because I didn't feel like I could swing it, and I was like, well, it's already paid for, so I guess I might as well go. So
yeah. I feel you on that one.
So yeah, so it'll be either Evo or CEO this year. Most years I couldn't go to Evo because I literally had a dance obligation on Evo every year.
Gotcha.
But I ain't doing that this year, so it could be the time. Could be the time.
I'm telling you, man. I definitely think this is the year to go to Evo. If you're a player of any game.
I don't know. I think everyone says that
unless you're a KI player. Because
This
I guess
is the
it's
year.
because Evo gets bigger literally every year that it's there.
This
So,
is the year every year.
once again, like the finals is held at the Mandalay Bay.
Oh, I thought that they might have been doing an announcement for MVCI at PAX today because there was like rumors that Marvel was going to make an announcement.
The past 2 years that I've gone to PAX Out, there's never been any kind of like special announcement of any kind. So I'm highly doubtful of it.
Well, apparently they did.
But I could be wrong this
Apparently
time.
they did make a Marvel announcement.
Oh, they did?
Marvel is partnering with Square Enix for a series of Avengers games. So that's going to be pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
So Square Enix will be releasing a handful of Avengers games, and I'm interested to see how that pans out.
Yo, we're gonna get Marvel Cross Final Fantasy.
Is it time?
Are we gonna get a Marvel
or-
World in Kingdom Hearts?
Yo, that would
That's
be
what I
awesome.
want.
That'd be godlike. That'd be godlike.
That'd
Yeah.
be pretty nice.
The Kingdom Hearts is
2.8 came out.
Yeah.
I don't have it yet, but it's
You
out.
don't either.
2.8. They're like so against releasing Kingdom Hearts 3
Yeah.
that they just keep adding decimals to like
It's
the,
still in development, bro. And it got delayed. So
Yeah, we're not getting it this year, are we?
Like, we're never gonna release
that
Kingdom Hearts 3.
game's gonna get released in 2019. I'm calling
Oh my god, I just wanted to know.
19.
So whack.
it.
Good lord.
But yeah, I guess that's it. Evo, check it out. July 14th through the 17th. It's gonna be lit.
Yep.
Especially if you're an anime player.
As always.
But yeah, I guess let's wrap up the show with the last segment, the struggle. Anybody got any struggles this time around?
School.
School. Yeah, the semester
Body
started back up
by
for
school.
young Doza
Yeah,
over
school
here.
and job searching. That's about it.
I can understand that.
Everything else is going A-okay.
I guess I'll also put my my struggle for the job search on there since you talked about that, because my job sucks and they don't pay me enough and don't give me enough hours either. So
That's
I'm
how it
currently
is.
on the lookout for another job myself.
Yeah. Yeah, life is generally hard, I guess. But related to fighting games, just trying to get good at Street Fighter V, playing Alex.
I mean, it's just hard to get good at fighters in general.
I mean,
It's even harder with a low-tier character.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think I might give Urian a try.
Yeah.
From what I've been hearing from a lot of people, Urian is the most fun to play out of all the top tiers right now.
Yeah, no, that's why I was thinking about him.
Man, you just do this and you move your
Yeah,
shoulders
just
around. and you
Remember
win.
the flow chart.
Dude.
Just do stand fierce all day.
Stay
And
fierce
once-
until I build V trigger.
You're gonna you're gonna take a lot of damage at first, but then
But it's always gonna be worth it.
yeah, it's always worth it. And once the fierce just stops working, you'll have V trigger. So just low short into V trigger and you win.
And then you
It's
win.
fine. It's that simple.
Fun.
Then you win. Oh man, you guys saw that the Alex V trigger punish video though?
I did not.
I will have to show you after this. All right. Well, I guess that'll be it for the podcast.
Yep.
This time
Yep.
around.
And yeah, that's gonna be it for Frame Advantage for this episode. You can, of course, watch and listen to Frame Advantage on YouTube. That's our primary site. Level 482 Productions. You can also check out our other YouTube channel, Level 42 Gaming. That's where we put all of our tournament archives and other random shenanigans like Mario Party and whatever.
Yeah, check out our website for articles.
Yep, Level 42 Gaming.
Level42gaming.com. You can also follow us on Twitter.
Yep, Twitter. You can also find this podcast on Libsyn and on iTunes because we finally have that going.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Follow our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/level42gaming. And I guess we can plug our own Twitters now. If you want to follow me particularly, I'm on Twitter at VTheWhiteMage. Doza.
Oh, I forget how many A's are in my name. it's quite a number. Or is it like 2?
All right. Well, we'll come back to you once you find out.
My Twitter tag is @VanMvo.
All right. Did you find out yet?
Okay. You can follow me at the Doza. It's the_Doza with an extra A.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna change it.
And with that, this is Level 42 Frame Advantage signing off. Catch you guys later.
Take it easy.
See ya.